Humans have been drinking wine for at least 8,000 years, and in that time, it's been a drink of luxury and leisure, religious rites, and celebrations. There are investment wines, table wines, natural wines, and sparkling wines. And the one thing that seems to link all of them, they're not cheap. So is the wine business only for the rich, or is there room for anyone to make money? Most expensive wine comes from France, so it makes sense that most of our vocabulary about wine comes from France as well. In the wine world, the word for an expert is sommelier, and I talked to one to help me understand what makes a wine worth it.
My name is Madeline Hales. I do private wine consulting for events and personal wine buying.
And according to her, one of the main reasons wine is so expensive to buy is because it's incredibly expensive to make. Before you even get to the grapes, there's the soil. And in wine, the soil matters a lot. Wine is all about terroir, a French term that basically encapsulates the way that the soil, climate, weather, and other elements in a region influence the way the grapes grow and taste. And so places that have a history of making good grapes and good wine are more desirable to both wine producers and wine buyers. So when you're buying vineyard acreage, you're really buying the terroir of that piece of land or part of the world. The better the terroir, the more you'll have to pay for the land, and the more you get to charge for the wine that's made there. But what makes good land exactly? And how can you tell just how good it is? The French, of course, have a system for that. Most wines are labeled according to the grape variety that they come from, like Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, or Pinot Noir. But France has over 200 varieties of grapes, and because there are so many, a lot of French wine is made with a combination of 2 or more different varieties. And because of that, French wines are labeled according to the region of France that the grapes are grown in instead of the grapes that the wine is made from. Each region has its own rules about how wine should be made there, and wines are given a certification based on how strictly they adhere to those rules. There are 4 rankings for land, and the highest can be extremely expensive. A hectare of the best land costs an average of €66,500. The same amount of land in Champagne, the namesake of Champagne wine, costs €1 million on average. And the best land in the Burgundy region fetches €3 million a hectare.
It's really hard to know if the terroir of those vineyards warrants those prices, just because it's hard to know what $2,500 is supposed to taste like.
With all this talk about vines and vineyards, it's easy to forget that growing grapes is farming. And, like all farmers, wineries and vineyards buy and sell grapes all the time. And because you can buy the fruit without needing to own the land, there are some very good wineries that don't own a single grapevine. For example, you can buy 1 ton of Cabernet Sauvignon grapes from the Napa Valley for $7,000. And a bottle of wine is made from about 600 to 800 grapes, meaning that ton of grapes will become 720 bottles of wine. So the cost of grapes alone for each of those bottles is almost $10. And once that wine is in those bottles, those wineries aren't the ones that get them to your dinner table. That's the job of wine importers. They find the best wine from around the world and make sure it gets in the hands of restaurants, private wine shops, and private cellars, where they'll be most appreciated and enjoyed. So after all that effort, money, and care, it seems like a waste to not drink it. But wine, especially expensive wine, does end up in cellars, being kept for years to make those expensive bottles even more expensive.
I don't know if it's necessarily like something that I advocate, because I really think that wines are for drinking. It's kind of like buying a beautiful piece of art and like putting it in your garage and nobody ever sees it.
And while the wine we're drinking today may not make us rich, holding on to it for 50 years or so just might. Each week, New Money looks at a different industry to see how the people in it are making money. So if you liked what you learned, be sure to subscribe below and check out our other videos.